I want to show you how I made this. Today I'm going to be making a stovetop cover or a noodle board. They call it a noodle board, you know, like ramen. It's a noodle board. If you know why it's called a noodle board, put it in the comments below, because I'm sure everybody wants to know. I'm going to be making that. My wife had, woke me up with a text and she's like, can you make one of these? Pop it on our stove. So I'm like, yeah, we'll go ahead and just make one. Now with the noodle board or the stovetop cover, all that's going to do is it just puts a big cover over the top of your oven range when you're not using it, just a little like decorative piece or whatever. So the one I'm making is going to have fence pickets, and those are going to go across, all the way across, and then I'll have a couple pickets here, one on each side, and then those are going to have handles so you can pick it up. Yeah, so bear with me on this. I'm not a professional carpenter. I'm not none of the above. I'm just gonna make this out of some scrap stuff I have sitting at the house. If you have any comments on the what can make this more efficient, better techniques, I'm more than happy. I'm open to constructive criticism. Just take it easy on me in the comments, okay? Just because I'm not a pro. That's what we're doing. Let's get it going. First of all, just make sure that you have some sort of protection. If you have loud equipment, you're gonna want ear protection. If you are sanding like I am, and you've seen in the video here that coming up, I didn't have a mask on. You should wear a mask. You don't want to be breathing that in. And eye protection also. We're gonna go through the little material list here and see what we need for the job and how I'm gonna do the job. I have some old fence pickets that I had salvaged from a junk hauling job. I'm gonna use those, which are these, which are pretty beat up and nasty, dirty. And I need to pull that out, the nails. And you can do this with, you can get new wood that's already finished. You won't have to sand it down as much as I'm gonna have to. You can definitely go buy new wood and do this much less rustic way. So I got fence pickets we're gonna be using for the board. I got some felt pads for the bottom, and these are my hardware I'm gonna be using for the handles. I got some longer bolts for them because I'm going through 2 layers of pickets. A lot of times you can get these handles that have the screws on the top so that you don't have to run a bolt through the bottom of it. You can just screw right through the top. You'll need some sort of a fastener, some sort of screw or brad nails. If you want, you can also use wood glue. To clean off these dirty pickets, I'm just going to be using my wire brush with my impact drill. You also need sandpaper. I'm using a belt sander because I have to sand these boards down. A palm sander after I have it all put together, just to fine tune it. Clamps, my finishes at the end. I have some stains here, and I also have a clear coat. I'm gonna stain it after I'm done. Clear coat it once, sand it, and then clear coat it a second time, and I'll call that good. Other than that, I think we're good to go. And we'll just see how this turns out. This is yours, so you make it how you want to make it. It don't matter who likes it and who doesn't. As long as you like it, that's all that matters. All right, so for this you just need a length and a width measurement. It's gonna have all my pickets across and then two pickets straight down with the handles in it. Anyways, let's go. Sanded these down. This is what it came out to be. This is what it was. Pretty nasty. It is 25 degrees out here. Goodness. Anyways, so these are all done. I'm all sanded down to where they're good enough for me. I'm gonna go ahead and make my these 2 pieces here go down and cut those to, I'm change this to 22.5, so I'm going to cut those at 22.5 inches, and then I'm going to lay that on top of the other boards and just trace where it's at and cut all my other pickets to the 29 7/8 inch. All right, so basically what I'm gonna do here is, and there's probably other ways to do it, this is how I'm doing it, is I'm gonna take, I got my line here. What I did was I just squared this up at the top. We're now flush with the top and the bottom now. Took my square, I just stuck it anywhere because I'm just cutting. It doesn't matter how much I'm cutting off of this part. So I just squared that up and I drew a line. And I'm gonna take these over one by one and cut them with the circular saw. So I got a flat edge. Okay, after the cutting there, that part was kind of pointless. You just square off the edges of all the boards so you get a flat surface on one side. And then when you set the next one on, that one you'll want to do the line. You don't have to do it on that first one like I just did. So I'm gonna go ahead and fasten this top board down to each picket, and then I'll have something to, you know, get my length out there, and I can put this next one down and then trace the line and cut all the rest of them straight across. Basically, I'm just going to drive these screws in 1 inch from the edge. So now, since my countersink didn't go all the way to the second layer, I'm going to go ahead and just drive these all in. And then once that's cut, we'll stick this in 1 inch from the edge. Go ahead and put this, move this in 1 inch from the end. Day two, gonna get the sanding in and finishing, but now, as you can see, I can't do any sanding outside, so I have to hand sand inside in the garage just so I don't get stuff everywhere with the palm sander. So we'll see what happens. When I was sanding it, I was noticing, since I had these screws sunk down, that it was filling the holes up with sawdust as I was sanding it. So I got the bright idea to keep the holes full of sawdust and just take a dab of super glue in each to kind of bind it over the top of the screws. And that did not turn out how I wanted it to, since the super glue just absorbed into the wood. I can't get that stain out of there. So I think something I would change next time is I'm just going to use some wood putty. If I was painting this, that'd be a different story. You wouldn't see none of that, but since I'm staining it, you're gonna see all these dark spots with the stain. It is what it is. Like I said, this is for the house. I'm not really tripping. It's all good. So far so good though. I got it all sanded. We'll put the stain on, call it good, let it dry. I'll come back and hit it with the clear coat. I'm gonna finish drilling these holes for the handles all the way through before I stain it. And I always throw a piece of wood underneath just so I don't mess my table up. That's totally your decision, whatever you want to do with that. We're gonna go ahead and put on the stain. First coat, maybe I might do two depending on how light this turns out. This is an early American color. That's the color of it. Shake it up real good. The longer you leave it on here, the darker it's going to penetrate into the wood grain. Keep that in mind if you want to just start out with a shorter time and then wipe it after 5 minutes instead of 10 minutes. And then if you need to, you can do another coat just to darken it up if it doesn't come out dark enough. But that way you can kind of play it safe. I'm going to put it on about this dark the whole way and then let it sit. And then I'll come through with a cloth and wipe it down. I'm gonna let that sit for a few minutes and just let it kind of soak in there, and then I'll come back and hit it with a cloth. I've let it sit for a few minutes. It looks a pretty good color of what I'm looking for, so I'm gonna go ahead and wipe it down now with the cloth. Yeah, it's a pretty nice color. I don't need it any darker than that. See, that's what the super glue did. Like I said, this isn't for anybody else, so it kind of gives it a little bit of character, I guess. I don't know. It's a good way for me to justify it. And you can see the little scratches in there too. I just didn't have any fine grit sandpaper. If you got the finer grit sandpaper you have, the smoother the surface is gonna be. Looks good. I gotta let that sit overnight. That way I'm not putting a clear coat on top of wet stain. I'll let it dry tonight. I'll come back tomorrow and put the first and second clear coat finishes on there. This is all finished with the first clear coat, so I'm gonna sand it all down. I'm gonna throw a second coat of clear coat on it and I'll call it good, and then slap the hardware on it. Also, while you're sanding this stuff, you definitely wanna have some sort of breathing protection, mask over your face, and eye protection. You don't want this stuff going in your eyes or in your respiratory system. Once again, with this clear coat, you don't want to shake it. You just want to stir it, get a good stir in there. Alright, so I think this looks okay. We'll let this set, let it dry, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pop the hardware in, and we're gonna call it good. Alright, so we are done. We are done, finally. I got the finished product sitting on the stove right now. I'm gonna show you what I did, what it looks like, what I would probably do different next time. So this is your end result, or my end result, I should say. Came out real nice. Especially with the repurposed wood. Those things were beat up when I started this. So what I would do next time is I would countersink these holes a little bit deeper, and then I'd use a wood dowel, stuff it in there with wood glue, and then saw it off so it's flat, and then give it a good sand, and then you would just have wood throughout here instead of missing chunks or whatever of the sawdust. It didn't quite stick with the super glue. And another thing is, when you only put one screw on each board, while you're making it, it'll shift. So these two screws here stopped it from shifting with the hardware. But what I might do next time would be probably like 2 screws here and 2 screws up here or something, just to kind of keep it from shifting. But anyways, it came out good. It fits the stove great. I'm happy with it. I hope you enjoyed the ride. It was fun making the first noodle board that I've made. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this for somebody that might want to do this themselves. It was a fun little project. So anyways, God bless you guys. You have a good day, and I will see you at the next video.